Hello everyone and welcome back to the 5 Red Lights. My name is Aaron and this is a brand new F1 2020 gameplay video. Today we are embarking on the Winning with Williams challenge. So basically I'm going to be doing a driver career mode on the F1 2020 game by Codemasters. George Russell is going to be my teammate, and as you can see here we're just going to go through the races. We're going to have a 16 race season. And we're going to see if we can return Williams to winning ways. Obviously, they start 2020 with the slowest of the 10 possible cars. And then we're going to see how far we can get with them. The aim to start with really is just to score points. Still selecting some of the circuits here. The first race is going to be Australia. I think that was more than appropriate. Just trying to pick a few where... it's not going to be quite so easy for me. Some of the circuits I'm not as good at, which is, I think, normal. There we go, we've chosen them. We're going to set our difficulty. I race with the AI at 95. I'm just going to run through some of the assists. I actually made a little bit of a mess here. I actually had the starts left on assisted. I have them on manual, so I had to go back in and change that in the preferences. And here we are then, at the Grove base of Williams. We've got a message from Claire Williams welcoming us to the team. It's very similar to the My Team sort of hub, where you've got the facilities, which we'll go through now, the aero chassis, durability, powertrain. We don't have the marketing or the simulator. We have the R&D, we have the power unit, we have driver perks still. There we are, looking resplendent in our lovely white and blue Williams overalls alongside George. We're going to dive into the R&D tree here, I think. Yep, there we go. Just got to keep up with my editing. And we've got 1,500 resource points to spend. And the first batch of upgrades you can use are roughly 500 points. So we're going to go ahead and spend some of those, mostly on the rear end of the car. So I want rear end stability so we can get onto the power, stop oversteer, we get out of corners nicely. So we're going to go for a rear floor under tray and side pod turning vanes on the chassis and aero upgrades respectively. I think we're going to do a gearbox upgrade as well. The first one, the durability on that. As you can see, Williams are kind of mid-table when it comes to durability. Out of everybody. So the Honda teams are the lowest, and that's us done. So now we're going to dive into the car launch. Excellent. Car looking absolutely beautiful, and we're going to advance time. The upgrades are coming in, and are they all successful? They are indeed. 3 green upgrades, and that's Carl just telling us about the upgrades coming in. Select our tyre choices, and let's head down under to Australia.
Great, you're done with the technician's briefing. Look, I know we've got a lot to get through in FP1, but Will Buxton's been pushing for a quick interview before you head out on track. Don't worry too much, he's a good lad. He's just over there. These media appearances are important for a few reasons. They'll help build your profile and your brand. Plus, your team will get a real boost to their motivation if they hear you praising them. Will, as promised, sorry to keep you waiting.
Oh, mate, not a problem at all, not a problem.
Look, we've got to be out on track in about 5 minutes for FP1, so we can only spare you a couple of minutes max. Is that going to be enough time?
More than enough, we're already set up. Cool, let's go. So, we're used to seeing rookies in Formula One every year, but this season there's a youngster that's arrived with perhaps a little more interest in them than usual. And that's because while they've been successful at every level of their career, from karts all the way through to Formula 2, they've somehow managed to stay pretty much under the radar. They don't have that luxury anymore though. They're in Formula 1. Millions of people around the world watching their every move, both on and off the racetrack. So let's take some time to get to know them a little bit better.
Okay, so an interview with Will Buxton. Let's introduce ourselves and tell the world how we want to get on this season. We didn't actually have a junior career. We're not really a youngster. I'm 28 years old, fairly late to the Formula One grid. So I'm just choosing my options here, thinking about how best to play it. Obviously, each answer has a different effect on a department. So I think we went for a chassis one there. What's going to be the biggest challenge? Well, not having my neck pulled off, probably. But that wasn't really an option. That's the end of the interview. And we're going to dive straight into practice at Australia.
This first race of the season is always quite difficult for us trackside, and for those back at the factory as well, as it's the first time the car has run since winter testing. The more consistent mileage you can get in these sessions, the happier we'll be.
Alright, so we are ready to go out onto track for the first time in the Williams. Let's see how this beast handles. I'm actually expecting it to be a little bit of a handful, perhaps not have the same amount of aero or chassis as I'm used to. The powertrain should be pretty good. And off we go then, out of the pit lane, onto track. I think we're the first car out. And you can see all the dust there coming off at the side of the wheels. Through turn one we go. We're going to crack on with the track acclimatization program. And here we go with the start of the lap. Nice and wide entry into turn one. Steady as we go, because we don't really need to be flat out on this program. Lap time doesn't really matter. So as we go through the middle sector, through the fast chicane, I thought this was a pretty cool angle to show you guys. Got that nice and tidy to the end of the lap now. A pretty good lap actually. Mostly purple gates and just the one green, which was I think turn 13, the right hander at the end of the straight. So that was the acclimatization. This is the tyre wear program, just coming to the end of the lap. A couple of corners to go. We're in the green bar. This is the first lap, and it's kind of going okay until we open the DRS and crash into the wall, which ends our practice session. So that's not really that good, is it? So we're slowest of everybody who set a time. Lewis Hamilton doesn't actually set a time, so the defending world champion already has problems. Fast forwarding to the end of practice 3, our fastest time on the soft tyres was a 24.6. Just had to get a closer look at the preview on my editing software. Quicker than George though, and then you can see our resource points that we've gained. So we're up to 1,215. Driver acclaim, I don't think we gained that much from practice, considering we spent most of it crashing. But let's head to qualifying. We saw Claire Williams there coming over to give us some good luck wishes. Obviously, the Williams family no longer actually in charge in real life, but they were at the time of the creation of this game. So it was Claire coming to say good luck to me. Just letting the Alfa Romeo Sauber go through there. I think it was Giovinazzi, maybe Raikkonen. But we're going to crack on with our lap. 15 minutes left in qualifying 1 over the line to start our first qualifying lap of the season. So far so good, not cutting any corners. We've got the corner cutting on strict, which is something new for me. Usually I play regular, but I've upped it to strict to challenge myself a little bit more, be a little bit more precise and accurate, which is exactly what we're doing through the first sector so far. I do use the racing line, that's just my personal preference. And first sector, it's decent. George sets the fastest time, but that I think is the first time to be set of anybody so far. Into the middle sector, everything coming together nicely. Usually you can get a little bit of wheel spin out here and lose it into the wall on the outside, but we got through the chicane quite nicely. Gasly now goes fastest. Don't think we'll be troubling his lap time. Into the left-right chicane, very high speed, keep it tidy on the exit because you can get too much curb and spin as Vettel goes fastest in the Ferrari. Into turn 13, the right-hander, get it slowed down, 90-degree turn right, sweep in to turn 14, and keep it tidy through the last two corners, and don't miss the apex and run quite that wide, which then compromises your line for the final corner. You can't get on the power early enough. DRS, hot lap engaged, and we go P4. We do still go ahead of George Russell, our teammate. So that's a decent start. So we're going to cut to the end of the session.
Magnussen ahead. Their best lap time is a 1 minute 23.5.
That was us just asking Jeff who is in front. It's Magnussen, and that is the time that we need to beat. Just going to ask him how George is getting on, because I can't see him.
19th. Their best lap time is a 1:24.3.
Alright, so that is what we need to do with our final lap. We are currently 16th. Magnussen is 15th, and 15th gets us out of Q1. Can we get the Williams out of Q1? That would be some effort. So here we go. Final lap of qualifying. 36 seconds left of the session when we cross the line. And let's see how we get on. Green as we go through turn 1, but dropping to red on the Delta. And it's pretty much going to stay red, I think, because the first lap was pretty good up until the last couple of corners, and that's really where we can gain some time. I was quite happy with the lap up until the final two corners. So that's where the time is going to be won and lost if we can tidy up that final sector. But we're over a tenth down as we come through the first sector, so we're quite a way, well, I'd say quite a way off, but bear in mind it is a competitive session. So into the chicane, make sure we don't get any wheel spin here, onto the straight and into the chicane. Nicely through there, on the power early, DRS, and we're gaining some time back on ourselves, but this is the section where we lost the time in the first run. A little bit wide through turn 13 on exit, but we get a good run through turn 14 and we're up just slightly there for an instant, but this is where we can regain the time. We get closer to the apex, we still run wide through the exit, a little bit of understeer, but turn 16, final corner is better, and we are up and we're heading for the line. Where does it put us? It puts us 16th. We were bumped down to 17th, and then we've jumped back up to 16th, but we are still out in Q1. Bottas topping the session from Hamilton, and we miss out by, wow, we miss out by a couple of hundredths there, not even that, to Daniel Kvyat in that AlphaTauri. Qualifying over, let's head to the race.
It's finally time once again to begin what promises to be another thrilling season of Formula One action. Pre-season times, subject of so much discussion in recent weeks, mean nothing now, as the cars line up to battle it out for points once again. So let's get this season underway. Welcome to the Australian Grand Prix. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Here we are then, Formula One in 2020. The fight for the World Championship all starts here today. Mercedes on the hunt for a 7th consecutive title. They'll have Ferrari and Red Bull to contend with along the way. Williams struggled to find their feet last year. They'll be hoping for a stronger start this time around. And what I wonder of the Renault-powered cars. Will they be able to step forward, maybe even onto the podium on a regular basis? Plenty to discuss then with Anthony Davidson. He's out of hibernation too, and alongside me in the commentary box once again.
It's good to be back, Crofty. Let's hope for some good racing today. We can't know at this point how competitive these teams are relative to each other, but hopefully nobody is able to run and hide. We want to see these drivers pushing to the limit all the way to the checkered flag.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Albon, Sebastian Vettel and Leclerc, Ricciardo, Perez, Sainz and Lando Norris, Ocon, Stroll, Pierre Gasly and Kvyat, Magnussen, Herbert, Romain Grosjean and Antonio Giovinazzi, Russell and Kimi Raikkonen finishes off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Okay, so there was the grid. We are 16th. I'm pretty happy with that. The car's been handling better than expected, actually. Not quite the dog that I thought it was going to be. We're going to take some fuel out, but leave us some spare to play with as the race goes on. We're going to need to attack on the first lap. Aim today, points would be incredible. We might need a safety car or a first corner pile-up. But I'm actually not really expecting to get anywhere much further than 16th. If we can get 15th, ahead of Magnussen, and be the king of Class C, then that would be great. But really, just bringing it home is the aim, as we form up on the grid then to start the season here in Australia, parking ourselves up in 16th position. Everyone in the couple of rows behind us forming up as well. We are ready for 5 red lights in Australia. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Find the optimal revs. 5 red lights and we are away in Australia. It's a good start. And we're pulling up alongside Magnussen and looking for the inside against Kvyat. Gasly is ahead of us as we plunge into turn 1. Can we make up some positions here? We can. Up to 13th for a second there, but we're bashed out of the way by Gasly and we're forced onto the grass. We're forced wide. Can we hold on to it? We can. And it costs us the position to Kvyat, but everyone's going to bottleneck on the left-hand side there. We're going to dive down the inside of turn 3. Magnussen has got himself up into 14th. And we're side by side with Gasly still on the outside as we go through turn 4. And he's going to force us to the inside here, bashes us again, and we cut the corner. An illegal overtake. We have to give the place back, but we successfully hand back just the place to Gasly and we hold off Kvyat. So we've managed to split the AlphaTauris. George Russell is up to 17th. A great start for the Williams boys. As we go through the first sector, chasing Pierre Gasly. Can we hang on to this group? I'm not really optimistic about that. But heavy tanks, we're sticking with Gasly so far. They're not driving off into the distance. We've got Kvyat behind us. And Gasly's putting away. Kvyat's having a look here into turn 13. We're going to have to swing it round the outside. We hang on to the position nice and clean there. And that is Kvyat dealt with for now a little bit wide through turn 14. And Kvyat's still there as we throw up the hand in frustration. What are you doing, man? Bottas sets the fastest lap. He started from pole position. And that is 1 lap negotiated of the 2020 season. As we fast forward now to the end of lap, halfway through lap 2, and we're still on the tail of Pierre Gasly because, well, the car is handling much better than I thought it would be. He's not being held up by Magnussen. We're stuck in a train of cars which runs all the way up to, I think it might be the Racing Points, if I can just see there. Then, but there's a McLaren in front. I think that's Norris. There might even be a Renault somewhere as Bottas goes fastest of anybody again. But we just can't quite stick with Gasly through that final corner to get a run. But DRS is now enabled. And we're in the fight, which is more than I expected. I thought Kvyat would come breezing past us on the second lap. He didn't. We're still chasing Gasly. We're still in touch. We're dropping Russell. He's about 1.7, 1.8 seconds back now. And as you see here, through the middle sector, speeding up a little bit. We're well in touch. They're not getting away. We're driving nicely, consistently. Good powered application out of the chicane there at 9 and 10. Handling okay through 13 or 12 and 11 and 12, but we're a poor exit through turn 12, and Kvyat now gets a run on us. He squeezes us to the outside. Can we do what we did on lap 1? No, we bang wheels, we go wide. How much is that going to cost us? Not that much. We only lose the place to Kvyat, which we probably would have done anyway. No damage to the front wing. Hopefully now we can stick with Kvyat. We were managing to stick with Gasly, so unless Kvyat has got some torpedo power, then we should be alright. As you can see though, moving to the end of lap 4, we are sticking with him. And we're still gapping Russell, who is keeping Grosjean behind him. And we're at the back of this train, but, you know, there's chances as we go deeper into this race. The car handling nicely. I'm driving well, which is pleasing. That's one thing I must admit, I can't always say I'm the most consistent driver. Sometimes just playing for a bit of fun, more casually. But I've taken things a little bit more seriously now, and I'm working a bit harder. I'm getting better. I've always been decent at these sort of games. Not to try and sound big-headed. But as you can see, driving very well. Not cutting any corners at all. And you know, we're hanging on to the back of this group. But this is Australia. It's difficult to overtake, and the dirty air through that final corner, unless you are literally hanging on to their rear wing, you're very, very hard done to find a chance to overtake, even with DRS. So we move to the middle of lap 6 here, and we've got a yellow flag. I think we had a yellow flag. It may have just disappeared. Giovinazzi is out of the session, so we did have a yellow flag. There he is, the Italian. And he's just, I love this. He just trundles into view so slowly and pulls off. That's the end of his race. Not the start that Alfa Romeo wanted. No safety car, no virtual safety car, despite him being on the exit of the super fast high-speed chicane. And we've got a few drivers into the pit lane. Hamilton and Verstappen have pitted for mediums at the end of lap 6. We are going to pit at the end of this lap as we fast forward and confirm to Jeff that we are going to box. We're right on the tail of Kvyat, so he's on the tail of Gasly. So if we pit before one or both of them, we could get the undercut and get ahead of one or both of the AlphaTauris. But we're going to need to hang on to them. We're going to need a good outlap. We're switching to medium tyres, and we'll be seeing them through to the end. Again, the car handling nicely, even on the worn tyres. Perhaps I've got a good setup on it. I do have a bit of an advantage in that I've played this game pretty much since it came out. As we get down to the speed limit of 37 miles an hour into the pit lane. So my setup is pretty well refined. I'm used to it. I've used it several times on the game. And we come into the pit lane. New tyres. Oh, we just missed a chance to get away there. There was a split second. I think we could have got ahead of Kvyat, but nothing doing there. 2.5 second pit stop. Nicely done, boys. And I'm back out on the mediums. As I said, we need a good outlap. But Kvyat has got away a bit. He's about a second and a bit, just under a second now up the road as George Russell enters the pit lane, which means that Pierre Gasly and Magnussen will be in the pit lane too. So perhaps we can jump one of them. So Ocon is ahead of Kvyat, so he must have come in as well. Well, he might have just been in the pit lane, I'm not sure. He must have just been in the pit lane. So there's Gasly coming out of the pit lane and Magnussen, and we've jumped the pair of them. Fantastic work from the Williams pit crew and myself there. So we've jumped from 16th to 14th. And now there's a train being held up here. I think it's the McLaren of Norris who's slowing everybody up. That's why Ocon is falling into the clutches of Kvyat. Now remember, in qualifying we missed out by a smidge of getting ahead of Kvyat. And had we managed to do that, I think we could be perhaps even further up in this race and potentially even looking at points. As it is, I don't think we're going to show the nose to Kvyat there. And we learned the lesson from the escapades at Spa, where if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I'll leave a link in my Team career video that I uploaded, that we actually got damaged trying to pass Kvyat. We lose ground coming out of the high-speed chicane, but we gain it all back under braking. Again, the dirty air will just compromise these guys through these final corners, and it allows us to close up, collect the DRS for the main straight, and Norris pits. He will come in and put it, I think he started on medium, so he'll put it on the soft, so we need to look out for him coming back through the field unless he's got a problem. But as we fast forward to lap 10, sitting 13th, so we've gained 3 positions there. I don't know if Norris had a problem or anything, maybe he picked up some damage. That might explain why he was so slow. But start of lap 11, you can see we're hanging on still to Kvyat, and he didn't get away. Ocon cleared off into the distance. He's at this point a couple of seconds up the road as we start lap 12, and we're closing in on Kvyat. Again, sticking in the DRS zone, sticking within DRS range. Can we get a good run? And we're in the slipstream here. We've got a good run through the first 2 corners, but we're not close enough to make a move, even though Crofty would probably be losing his mind at the sight of another car closing up on another. So we go through the fast right hand of turn 5. The car's handling fairly well in dirty air, I must say. So that, I mean, maybe we just don't have enough downforce to be affected by it. But coming through the final corner, the best run we've probably got all race through that final corner. It gives us a real opportunity now into the probably turn 3. So we're not close enough into turn 1. Nice and tidy through turns 1 and 2. Second helping of DRS. Rich mixture. Overtake enabled. We're going to dive to the inside. Can we make the move stick? Kvyat's going to squeeze us, but we're through, I think. Make sure we don't get wiped out through turn 4. We leave the space, but we are into 12th position. A Williams in 12th on merit. And as you can see here, by the end of lap 14, we have pulled out over a second to Kvyat. So we were actually being held up by these guys. We're going to ask Jeff what's happening with George. And he's about 7.5 seconds behind in 16th. So, onto the final lap. And that was the race. At the front, it's victory for Lewis Hamilton. He wins the opening race of the season for Mercedes. And we, coming through the final sector here, got about 1.5 seconds to Kvyat, so we can just take it easy. Using Rich on the final lap to use up the last bits of fuel, a little bit wide through the penultimate corner, but it's not going to affect us. Unbelievable. We weave our way down the straight. We finish 12th in the Australian Grand Prix.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Ferme.
Talk to me, Ants. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
After an excellent performance at the Grand Prix, I'm sure there'll be plenty of celebrations tonight amongst the Mercedes team. And they certainly deserve it. So, let's review the driver's
So it's victory for Lewis Hamilton. He beats Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon to the flag. Bottas actually finishes 5th behind Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. But for us, 12th and 16th. So we beat. I managed to beat both Haas, both Alfa Tauris, and both Alfa Romeos. And Norris was last, I think, just looking through that. A brilliant performance for us. Williams at 7th. Okay, we haven't scored any points, but we've got the highest non-scoring finish of anybody there on 0. So very pleased with that. And that is the end of the episode. The first episode of this series. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you think I need to turn up the difficulty. We'll see how we go in the next few races and whether we should turn up the AI a little bit more difficult. Yeah, very pleased with that performance. A nice overtake on Kvyat at the end to take 12th place. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, and keep your eyes peeled for the second race, which will be in Bahrain. I'm not sure when that will be uploaded, but hopefully it will become a regular series. This has been the 5 Red Lights. My name's Aaron, and this is the Checkered Flag on another video. See you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.